Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Gaming with Blockchain. I'm your host, Amine Yu. In today's episode, we're talking about that NFT special. I've been, talking so much about the gaming element, and at times I completely forget there's a collection side to it, and there's projects I've been involved with, and I'm not showcasing those. And it's bad on me. I should be doing that just as much as of the games themselves. So I've been pleasantly reminded about that. I have done a few, like one or two episodes earlier before, but again, still not enough to share the spotlight. And so that should be happening moving forward as well. But again, the NFT market is so vast, it's so different, it's ever changing. What I'm presenting here to you today is just my opinion. It's just my style of things. There's about 1,000 different projects out there. It's really about finding what works for you and how it works for you. So I have to be mentioning this disclaimer right now. This is not financial advice. This is just an opinion. Do your own research. Find a niche that suits you. You can always ask questions. Questions are good. The more you know, the better you can act upon moving forward. We're not looking to scare anybody out of the space, but at the same time, we want to make sure that it's the decisions that you're making comfortably. So moving on, when I had talked about the play to earn element before, I had focused on these particular projects, and I had mentioned it at the bottom here. There's other projects, so we're going to focus on what those other projects are. We're going to look at some of the projects that I'm in. Again, some of them smaller than others, but still things that have interest to us. So, you know, we're talking about NFT. We're talking about the big picture of NFT, and within this, we're seeing in this diagram that NFTs can be an FT. So if you're playing our planet, there's some FT tokens as well. And then there's what's called the STOs. And we're not going to touch that, but you'll start to probably hear that surface a bit moving on. But then what's the NFT? And the NFTs can now cover so many things, and there's yet for other areas that we haven't discovered yet, but right now for this particular segment, we're going to be discussing the arts, the gaming assets, and the collectibles in general. Okay. So here are some examples that I am part of and things that I also appreciate but not necessarily a part of. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. These are just a general overview. And you can take it for what it is. This is up to you. It's for you to make your own decision and make your own call. But again, it's to highlight some of these projects and the things that I've, myself and my team, that we're now putting our money into and putting our joy into. And hopefully you share the same sentiment. If not, you might find something else that suits your appeal. Okay, but now what is the categories that make all this happen? We generally do make the choices based on intrinsic value. Okay, that's the first thing. No matter what, we buy something or interact with something because we like it. It's very subjective. It's not easily quantitative. It's not something that you can easily measure. But this is the primary reason. So the NFTs are no different. Then there's the flipping FOMO and pump and dump. I'm not going to get into that. That's why it's crossed out. I'm not saying it's not right or it's not wrong. I'm saying that unfortunately there's way too much emphasis on that. I'm seeing the feedback. I'm seeing the comments, and people are just not willing to do the homework, and they're looking for the shortest access to $1 million. I want to do the least amount of work, but I still want my $1 million. Okay, well, there's a risk to it, and it's not something we're looking to promote or share. Not saying that I have less than 5% into that kind of market, and it's not something I eagerly go hunting or looking for. But again, it's not saying it's right or wrong. Just that most people are unaware of the high risk that's involved. So that being said, that part of the category we won't be mentioning or looking into. Then there's the third category, which is brings in the added components to the NFT. So I like the NFT, but then there's the options of which now I can upgrade them either by shining, blending, crafting, whatever combination you want, or completing sets. And we'll be looking into all that as well. And once you get to that component, now things are becoming more measurable. Things are becoming more quantitative because there's more activity, there's more involvement, right? Now we move on to the fourth, and it can include the third, or it may not. It doesn't have to. But then there's a gaming component. How can that now be applied to a game? Is it applied to a new adventure game, a new mining game? As we know, how these NFTs now can be utilized. And the fifth is, of course, the unknown expansion. We don't know what else it can be, what the NFTs can be used for. That's still up in the air. So we're going to look at some of these projects. We're going to look at the projects here that are listed on the left, and we're going to also look at some of the projects listed on the right. And I'll put these all in the show notes. I'll put at least some, if they have a website, I'll put a website. You could definitely find them in the Atomic Hub on the wax side, and the other on the right, the other side will be different blockchains outside of the wax universe. So I'll try to put as much information in the show notes so that you have the links and they're ready to go. So now let's take a look. We had on the first list the dingleberries, and for me, I just like the dingleberries. I find them kind of as unattractively attractive, if that makes sense. There's a different style. They're quite distinctive in their work. But again, this was a personal choice. This is purely in the category number one, where it was all intrinsic. It had nothing to do with the set feature. It has nothing to do with a gaming component. But then again, it may be on the fifth side. Who knows what it could be utilized for later on. So that's one example. Another example was the images from the EOS blockchain. So we just shown you the dingleberries. This is from now the gems. The gems, they did a big dream feature, and this is some of their asset class that they have developed. All artistic, some on projects that we are familiar with, some probably not. But it was really, really great because they were working on the symbol of the EOS icon, I should say, or the logo, which is called a chestahedron, or chestahedron. There we go, chestahedron. Working with the triangle shapes, and some of these are very animated. They kind of spin around, but again, could be part of a set, could be standalone. Is entirely up to you as a buyer what feature you're looking to achieve. And then we can look at another category. If I could find, oh, there we go. This is a collection that was being done from street artists in Africa, and I think in South Africa. Now I have a few of these assets, and of course I'm hoping that what's being purchased, actually a percentage of actually goes to the artist, but there's no way of knowing for sure. I know the smart contract is here established, but I don't know if there's a smart contract set to the artist. My fingers crossed. It's just a hope of hope, but you can see different styles of artwork, and again, it's purely on the intrinsic side of things. I go after something I like, and I say, okay, this is really neat, which I may have to be going after these two. I did not catch them in the collection before, so look at what I'm finding right now. So I have two that I'm going to add to my collection of itself. Again, that's just one category. So if we looked at the gems, we saw the gems as being one of the, it could be one or the other. So it could be the gems being a part of the intrinsic, but it could also be part of the set. But now, if we look at, let's say, if I go to Upland cards, this is now again 1 and 2. I could now decide, okay, I want once the setting features come in, do I want to now work on the sets of stamps, or do I want to work on the sets of possible landmarks or areas? These are things that now, again, as a choice of a collector or a buyer, I can now utilize whatever direction I choose, as a special feature. These are all independent. Again, there's no rule. You have to really understand. There's no official rule of how you enter this market. It's just about being wise and really think about the steps that you intend to do. What do you want to do? If people are looking purely to cash out and everything you want to cash out, well, then that's a different dynamic. If you're looking to have a certain percentage of what's cashed out and what you kind of reinvest, and I use those terms loosely, then there's a different strategy. You got to apply those strategies and build them as you go. So that's upland. Then there's let's see if I can find the other one. Go here, and here's now another category. Yes, I personally got into this, again, a little on the distinctive style of art, but this is now a dual asset, and I guess that you want to call it that, because it could be a collection that you just like for the style of it, but then it's a collection of where you build sets. Now, I already missed the first two sets because I completely was preoccupied with other things, so I'm hoping that I made it in time for the third set collection. And even so, if I didn't, I still would have gone ahead of and try to buy certain of these items, because I like a lot of them. They're reminiscent of an era gone by, and it's just interesting how they kind of revive these older themed images or themed cartoons. So again, it's really up to you. It's really your choice. So now we're going to look at another one here. And again, this is all based on the combination of the 1 and 2, as I mentioned earlier. Here we're looking at 1 and 3, sorry, not 1 and 2, 1 and 3. So again, this is another one you can buy it as a standalone little assets, but the whole point of this particular project is that you're going to blend them. All these three items get blended into something new, so you're enhancing it. So this is again the added feature of the NFT. And this is one project I have been a bit in. They're going through a new development phase, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out on their next project. And then now there's the turn this off. Maybe it's not. There we go. So here's one very science-based. Like I said, I'm not a scientist, so don't get scared off. But I do appreciate science. I do appreciate the STEM industry and the STEM environment. And so when I get projects that touch on that, I'm always on board. And again, this is just a tap of what we're involved with. My partner and sibling has some of these things, but everyone does their own thing. So this is the collections that they're available. What I like about this one is because it's also educational. You have articles that come in, I think, every week if the timing's right, and it gives information about all these minerals and elements that come through. And I think that's a great bonus. It could be part of a collection, so you can have the modules selection, you can have the elements collection if you want, but they also work just as well independently. Okay, so that's where we are there. So I'm hoping this has given you, as I said, enough of a base point to understand that the market, it's just too big to say the only thing that matters is A, or the only thing that matters is B. It is really based on how well you kind of I'll take a term that was been described in our Planet channel. look through the surface, how well you want to examine the project, and does it work for you? Does it do what you're hoping it does? Moving on, like past the first stage and second stage and so forth. So now there's another project that has been announced, not so much announced, but making headway, and I like it too. I knew I was going to like it. And it's the Gnome series project, so I've been gathering some of the assets there, and unfortunately keep missing the bloody drops. Wrong time zone, honestly. But just think of the potential on where this is going to go. Now, the whole idea with this project, it hits, again, a personal opinion here. It hits my number one. It hits not my number three because I'm sure there's going to be some sets, but it's also going to have a number four when the planning is done. So it's going to have a game component added to it. Now, as things move on, that's going to be really huge. If you're into collecting these items, and you're looking to bring in whatever asset holds that you can, this is the things that you want to evaluate. You got to create your own measuring stick, if that makes sense. And yeah, some of these are really, really good. This could be. I have to stop my shopping. I have to stop. I have to stop. I have to stop. I'm really bad. And I have to stop. And I do have some packs, and I haven't gone through it just yet. So you can see there's a lot here, and I'll be adding, like I said, the show notes to it. So those are the projects that we've put in, we've invested in. We're looking to work with this team, and I'll give you a bit of hit on that just before we wrap up. But now let's look on the projects that I am not part of entirely, but I do appreciate. And again, it's just being unbiased as I can. I'm heavily endowed with the wax. Oh, and I forgot to add one. And we'll show it. So on other chains, this is another project I bought into. They are on the Ethereum blockchain. As you know, I'm not a fan of Ethereum. I don't like the fact of paying these gas fees, but I what I do like about this particular project, between the two, it was American Gods, which is no longer a series, I think, but I do like some of the cards, which I did purchase. Um, Let me see with American Gods. So they had this series of characters, which was just fantastic. But you can see the majority of them have sold out. So I was just lucky to get into most of these, or some, a very small set. So I don't have the set, which was what it would be cool if I was able to, but I do not. Then the other collection is Concrete Park, and this is due and created by another great team. One of them is being a former actress in this space, and I'll let you guys do your own research, because if you're interested, that's part of it. You got to do your own research. And why I like this, trying to get into this collections where I can, because unfortunately there too, their releases are in the middle of the day, and I just don't have access to be doing this in the middle of the day. But you can see here, if you look at Erica Alexander, if you know who that is, you will recognize what I'm talking about. But why I like Hero is because until I decide to move the assets off their server, and then I'm not paying any extreme gas fees for the moment. Now, yes, we all know you're not supposed to keep your any tokens or assets on an exchange and whatnot. I am just it just kills me to pay the fees that ETH has been in place right now. And I know some of the fees have dropped. Don't get me wrong. It's just don't like the chain for this purpose, as far as micro exchanges and whatnot. Don't get me wrong. I get the whole point of ETH and what it can establish, but on the other side of things, it is a detriment in the costs and the gas fees. But that's one project. Then there's the Zed Run. This is now very popular. I was even considering going to it, and I'm like, no, I have enough on my plate. But it has become very popular. It's become very interesting in terms of how people are playing this game. But yes, it's a bit of gambling. Yes, it is. Do not make a mistake on anyone telling you it's not. It is that. It's no different than going to the tracks in real life and putting a wager. It's a risk. But it's interesting how it's been developed. It's very, very interesting how this has been created, and you can see why the popularity is there. So if you're into that, there's 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 always races going on, and some of these horses are on sale. So have your fun at it. Okay, next, another project I enjoy is the Skulls on Earth. I again maybe seem on the morbid side. I'm kind of showing my traits here, but I do like the project. I do like what they're doing, and how they've kind of curated and put in the amount of work to develop this project really well. So again, if you're into ETH and you're on this chain, this is one project I will definitely vouch for to look into and support. Right? Okay, Gala Games. So now we know about the Gala Games. I'm sure everyone's been hearing about Gala Games, and you're probably wondering how come I never talk about Gala Games. Well, I don't play Gala Games, but it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate what they're doing. And it would be nice once they completely get off of ETH to see how well they truly grow. But for the moment, Town Star has been doing really, really well. I've been hearing as far as play to earn potential goes, people are depending on the region of the world, of course. Their earnings are substantial for that region of the world. So again, something to pay attention to if you're into it, and again, do your research. It could be worth your while, or not. Again, it's not up to me to make that decision, right? It's really up to you. The next one has come into play. The Gala Games is supposed to be on Matic or Polygon. ETH is on ETH. Zedrun's on ETH. This new one called Cryptomon is now going to be scheduled to release maybe late June. They're still under development. They're going to be on the Binance chain, so that means fees will be significantly dropped in comparison to the other ones mentioned before. Again, I'll be putting those in the show notes, and you can be taking a look. And again, see this here? White paper, folks. It's a great asset to provide for yourself if you're really concerned on cost and potential of a project. It makes or breaks your decision. So that being said, what this all means moving forward now is that you have a basic understanding that I am involved in, or I should say, not just I, but my partner, my sibling, we are involved in other projects. We are doing other things in terms of the space of NFTs. What we like, we look at how the development is. We try to determine, again, not just the project, but also the team behind it. You know, how are they fundamentally sound? Are they really good people, or at least seemingly so? It's hard to tell because you don't meet them face to face. But you want to support projects that are fun, are interesting, helpful, beneficial, like all these great things. And so I hope you know this has provided you that overview in terms of what we'd like to do. And again, like I said, this is not the full list. It will go on forever if it did, but it's just a segment. And now, for any one of you who are also playing Alien Worlds or going to be playing Alien Worlds, we do have a treat for you coming up as we kind of get into the final details of providing some of these NFTs in Alien World drops. We're getting there. We're just about halfway through the finalization on the teams that are going to be involved with it, and so I hope that you'll stay tuned when we make that announcement. And if you're in the channels of Telegram channels or the Discord channels of Alien Worlds, stay tuned there. So On that note, I'm going to thank you for following. I'm just going to state as well, if you're looking to get more information, again, when we do possibly talk that some projects on the strategies and what it really means, and we get really into depth on certain overviews, I do host it a Wednesday, or co-host a Wednesday Zoom call, so that people can ask the questions, and things that are just unclear, that they're unclear about, and you can follow along from that point. So until then, I have to say thank you for following and sharing, and hopefully then this has provided some insight. If you have any questions, do tag along, let me know. We're trying to move ahead as we grow, and as you know, the market, or even all these projects that we've been talking about, are growing faster than sometimes we can catch up. But we're here to answer your questions as much as we can, or at least to provide you with this type of insight and information. So again, until then, until next time, take care and thank you.